Something from the UN Secretary General. He released a statement saying that he is gravely alarmed by use of force by the U.S. against Iran. Okay, we are going to go live now. President Trump alongside with J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Let's listen in.
The U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the three key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before, and we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done, and most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And again, you were just listening to President Trump addressing the nation regarding those strikes against Iran's nuclear facilities. He said, "Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment facility and to stop the nuclear threat." He said, "Tonight, I can report to the world the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear facilities were totally and completely obliterated." He said Iran must make peace or else the U.S. will strike again. He thanked the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done and the American patriots who flew those magnificent aircraft. Trump said this cannot continue and this will either be peace or there will be tragedy, and said there are many targets left. He added if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision and skill We saw that tonight with President Trump's decisive action. He also said there will be a press conference tomorrow at 8 a.m. from the Pentagon from Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. So I'm sure we will get more questions answered there, as well as more information comes into our newsroom. Reaction from lawmakers and world leaders regarding President Trump's actions to strike those 3 key nuclear facilities. This comes after concerns were raised that Iran could get its hands on a nuclear weapon within weeks to months. President Trump has tried to be diplomatic about this matter, and he even said just days ago that he gave Iran 60 days to make a deal, but they did not come to the table and decided to take action. He said it was day 61. And we know that yesterday on Friday, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said that the president would make a decision on Iran within the next 2 weeks. So again, he made that decision tonight. We're seeing that in full effect. We know that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu praised President Trump, and he said, quote, President Trump acted with a lot of strength. Meantime, we know that House Speaker Mike Johnson, he also praised President Trump's decision-making, saying that this is America First policy in action. So we're getting more information. President Trump reportedly told Sean Hannity that bunker buster bombs used to strike the Fordo nuclear facility in Iran, we're seeing that it was 5 to 6 bunker buster bombs on Fordo. That's what President Trump told Sean Hannity. But again, we'll be finding out more information about all of this in the coming hours, in the coming days. Again, tomorrow, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, he will be holding a press conference at the Pentagon, and be sure to answer some questions there. So what do we know about the sort of aircraft, these bunker bombers, these bunker busters rather, is that a lot of this, again, the U.S. is the only nation that has access to these types of bunker busters rather. Specifically, the president has said, and we do know that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, he previously said that Iran, that they're not seeking regime change. But Trump said, again, this cannot continue. And again, we're seeing this in full action. But regarding those U.S. B-2 bombers that were involved in those strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, only the United States possesses and operates the Northrop B-2 Spirit stealth bomber. This makes the U.S. again the only nation with the aircraft capable of deploying certain types of specialized weaponry, like the 30,000 massive ordnance penetrator, also known as the bunker buster bomb. Again, no other allies have this type of equipment the way that the U.S. does, and that the way that the U.S. can penetrate deep into Iran's nuclear facilities, again, that are so deep underground, and it requires that type of weaponry in order to destroy these nuclear facilities, in order for the Islamic regime to not get its hands on a weapon. And on top of that, we do know the Islamic Republic, they cut off internet to civilians in Iran. There's about 90 million people who live in Iran, but they use that to suppress information and to suppress the information to civilians about what's going on and where they should be fleeing to. So we're keeping a very close eye on that. I do want to go back now to what some of the world leaders are saying about all of this. Again, this information coming into our newsroom, UN Secretary General says he is gravely alarmed by the use of force by the U.S. against Iran, adds it's a direct threat to international peace and security. That's from Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General. And again, there are many Democrats who have condemned President Trump's use of action on Iran without congressional approval, and there have been a small minority of Republicans so far who have spoken out against the president. We do know Representative Thomas Massie said that this is not constitutional. So again, we're seeing this, a lot of whether or not President Trump from both sides of the aisle should use this action. Very stark differences on both sides of the aisle. and we will be sure to keep an eye out on if President Trump says anything else. But again, from those remarks, he says, tonight I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Those are the nuclear facilities, again, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. So again, those are the 3 key nuclear facilities, and he's calling on Iran to make peace after that address. So the Iranian state media outlet presenter says a war against Israel is currently 1-0 in Iran's favor, as he's hinting that U.S. military bases in the region he has been hinting that they are in danger. And it will be interesting to see how Iran responds to this. So, and in those remarks you saw behind him were, again, Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Kane, they will be holding a press conference tomorrow at the Pentagon at 8 a.m. to give us more updates and answer more questions, I'm sure, on President Trump's latest action against Iran. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Look at this one under eye bag. It's gone.
There's this side and this side.
Just look at these results.
50 and having